Hey guys, this is CholeraSC bringing you Game 2 of Nada versus Fantasy here in the Incruit OSL Round of 36. And by the way, in case I didn't mention in Game 1, I'm not sure if I did, this is not the beginning of this series. Rather, Fantasy actually beat a Protoss player called Sue in the first half of the series. Now he's playing Nada for the right to leave the group. I didn't want to cast the first two games because the first three games because I just don't have the time really to cast all the games in this group. But anyway, here we have Nada spawning in yellow at the 1 o'clock position on this map, Return of the King, a new map for the Incruit OSL, and this is Fantasy in blue at the 5 o'clock location. Return of the King is definitely, I think, a macro-heavy map. You start off with your main base, and it has a island mineral-only expansion right inside your main base at the corner of the map, although that's really not that valuable. It's actually not on higher or lower ground. It's actually just separated by sort of a fissure from your main base. And then around your main base are two natural expansions, which both have gas on them. So they're a little bit susceptible because the center of our map is a large plateau, which you could theoretically use to shell on the expansions. Although actually I'm not sure if the distance is short enough to get to them. But in any case, it is a very macro-heavy map, and I expect this, if it doesn't end up in a rush, basically I expect this to go very, very long. It could go very long because of the availability of resources for both sides. And looks like Supply Depot first for Nada. He's going for an early scout before the barracks. So wants to make sure that Fantasy is not going to go for more cheese, just like Fantasy didn't last game. I do think the Fantasy's, well, I wouldn't call it a cheese build, but it was a very well-executed two-port Wraith build, and he really denied scouting very well. That was really important. Nada went for two-port Wraith also, but he didn't know that Fantasy had two-port Wraiths up, and so he didn't get the Academy down early enough to be able to handle cloak Wraiths, which is what really cost him the game. Also, losing the first two Wraiths right in the beginning cost him the game. So yeah, Nada is going to be able to scout Fantasy's base right now. He's going to see that Fantasy so far hasn't done anything that that out of the ordinary. Here we're going to see probably the barracks and the refinery going up. Yeah, that is a 12 barracks, 12 refinery for Fantasy. And so I was talking to my younger brother earlier, and for some reason the topic came to Korea and why like North Korea is so poor and why, you know, in some ways it still wants to, you know, prepare for war with the West or with South Korea. Oh, and by the way, a 14 command center going on for Nada. Nada seeing the 12 racks decided it's safe enough to go for a 14 command center. It generally is, I mean, in that you're not going to get marine harassed with this build, but you're still very susceptible to a fast two-factory or a starport Wraith rush here. So we'll have to see if Fantasy can spot this in time, but Nada's actually perhaps doing a good job of distracting Fantasy by keeping that SCV alive and harassing Fantasy's SCV building the barracks. So SCV has not been sent out yet for Fantasy. Fantasy, meanwhile, planting the factory immediately. Of course, a 12 racks, 12 refinery allows you to do that. And now Fantasy might be able to take out the scouting SCV. It looks like he won't actually be able to take it out. Pretty close, though. So yeah, I was talking about North and South Korea with my brother, and basically I explained the history as this, like in 1950, North Korea decided to go for a really fast Zergling rush, or maybe a marine rush, I guess actually you'd call it, against the South. The South at that time was really unprepared, almost lost the game, but eventually managed to get like a couple of factories up from the United States and some raids, managed to fight to a standstill. But since then, South Korea has been expanding and taking in, you know, lots of natural resources, whereas North Korea has been basically just playing really badly. All they've been building is factories and tanks, but now they're not even militarily as strong as South Korea because they just had no resources. I mean, I think like North Korea is on like 2 bases, its people are starving, and basically it's just producing tanks is all they do. And South Korea has like battle cruisers and everything now, and it has like 10 bases with SCVs at all of them. Anyway, so sorry, factory and machine shop going up for Fantasy, and we're seeing a bunker in the front for Nada. So Nada deciding to wall himself in a little bit here at the front door. That's definitely a smart idea, I think. And Nada, I think Fantasy probably suspects there is a fast expand. Otherwise, there's really no way Nada would decide to play a build like this. Now Fantasy is going for the probably the FD build here, sort of like an FD build. Yeah, a couple of Marines and 1 tank, and he's going to put a little pressure on Nada. But I think Nada is very well prepared for this. Nada has this factory almost finished, and I think Nada is definitely taking an economic lead in this game. And now he's putting down a starport, and this is something we see quite often from Flash when he goes 14 command center. If he can pull it off successfully, he goes for starport right afterwards, because of course he has the 2 gas, and if if his opponent wants to compete in the air, well, basically his opponent can't compete using rates because he just won't have the gas to produce as many rates as the player with the 14 command center can. Here we're seeing probably, I'm going to guess Siege Mode actually. Siege Mode first for Fantasy, so he's going for a very fast Siege Tank push here. He's going to use that Siege Tank to shell that bunker and try to take it down and try to do some early damage to Nada, but meanwhile Nada will probably get a Wraith out very soon, which is a very good counter, by the way, against the fast tank push. And this is partially the reason I think Nada decided to go for a starport. And we're seeing probably Siege Mode will be done in a matter of moments here. Nada has, of course, spotted the tank coming in for a while. Nada needs to move that barracks, though, or else he will lose it. And unfortunately for Nada, his bunker will go down, so Nada might be in a bit of trouble. I do think, though, that Nada has a tank out, and I think he'll have a Wraith out pretty soon. So I don't think this is going to really get anywhere. Of course, now Fantasy will have the Siege Mode much longer before Nada will, but really, it's not going to make that big of a difference. Nada will have to perhaps lose that bunker, losing that SCV there. But really, I think Fantasy is not in a good position right now. He's putting up a bunker, interesting enough, so really trying to contain Nada in. He has a second tank coming up, but I think Nada probably will have Siege Mode in time to defend. And yeah, like I suspected, here's the Wraith coming out for Nada. Although that bunker there is a smart idea in that it's going to give some protection to Fantasy, but unfortunately he's not moving the tank. It's not in a good position right now, so that tank is going to lose some HP from that one Wraith harassing, and now Nada has Siege Mode up, so yeah, this harass is going to fail for Fantasy. He didn't manage to do any damage at all, and I'd say Nada is taking a solid lead here economically. Fantasy continuing to push here, though. He really needs to do some damage, of course. He knows it. He might even lose his factory here to the Wraith, actually, which will send him even further behind. Fantasy now putting up early Armory and Academy, just in case Nada is going for Cloak Wraiths, and he'll need some Glides then. But actually Nada, I think, is probably going for the Dropship option. I don't think he'll be going for any more Wraiths past his first one, since I haven't seen it coming. But interesting enough, I think a Dropship is being produced here, yeah, for Nada, and his fourth factory is going up by now. Looks like 4 factories going up for Fantasy also. So yeah, basically North Korea, yeah, all it's been doing is building tanks, and once in a while it tries to build a nuke, and I guess it tries to actually, what it does is it threatens to use the nukes, and then yeah, they dismantle them and get some food aid, and then a few years later they do the whole thing again. It's really a difficult situation, as I'm sure that those of you who've been following the situation know about. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, just very much like StarCraft, like a Tyrant versus Tyrant StarCraft game. You go for the early tanks, and if you fail with your rush, you need to expand and get more SCVs, but North Korea unfortunately isn't playing very well. It has almost no SCVs on its like 2 bases, and still just saving all its resources for more and more tanks and no air power to speak of. So I don't think if there was a war between the two, not that there will be anytime soon, I think, but I don't think North Korea would really have much of a chance. Anyway, enough about North Korea. Here we're seeing 2 dropships from Nada. He's taking the dropship route, and unfortunately for Fantasy, he has nothing up right now, so Nada could do a lot of damage. Nada, though, is going to lose that Wraith in an attempt to sort of harass, I think, and also scatter him, but it's not going to bother him very much. Dropships, I think, will be very powerful unless Fantasy manages to get very lucky and intercept them with Goliaths or something, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Nada's going to fill it up with tanks and Goliaths. 3rd dropship out, but unfortunately for him, he gets scanned, so Fantasy's going to know the dropships are coming, but will he have enough? He doesn't have any rates, of course, and I don't even think he has a starport up. So, excuse me, the situation not looking very good. He's sending a couple of Glides in an intercept position, but they're not in the corner where they need to be. Nada's going to get by, but not actually dropping there. Trying to, well, actually, it looks like Fantasy was trying to pick off some of these dropships, managed to get a dropship with his Goliaths, but now I think he has no anti-air left, and it's not looking good for him. He has a couple of Goliaths that are ready to intercept, though, so Nada still has to be careful. And looks like Nada is going to change routes here. He's going to go by ground and perhaps do a siege on the front door. Looks like he's actually setting up a bit of a contain, trying to stop Fantasy from picking up his other natural expansion there. And I think Nada might be just waiting for a couple more dropships before he goes on the